How's it going, everyone? Jesse Slammarella here. Uh, Today I've got a top 20 list to do for you, and it is my top 20 of brutal death and slam bands. Before I get started on the top 20, I do have a 10 honorable mentions list to go through here for you. Um, there's just been so many brutal death and slam bands that I've had to check out and to make this list, and there's unfortunately still a lot that didn't quite make the cut for various reasons, but here's my 10 honorable mentions. First up being Colposcopy, or Colposcopy, depending on how you want to say that. Uh, they're an amazing kind of groovy slam band. They have a lot of kind of neat hooks and stuff like that. Kind of groovy, like infectious type of riffs, and they've got some. I think they've got a couple of humorous clips in there as well. Just really good. Their album that I have is Ready for Gore. Definitely check them out. Definitely an honorable mention. Number 2 is Stages of Decomposition. These guys I didn't get into right away when I first heard of them. The name just kind of got seemed kind of cliche, but when I actually stopped and took a minute to listen to them, the riffs were amazing. The tunes were just heavy as fuck, and there's a lot of references to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and whatnot in it, so definitely worth an honorable mention. Third on the list is Throb of Awful. Awful? I still don't know how to pronounce the name of this goddamn band. But they're really good. I wasn't expecting them to be as good as they were. I got them from CDN Records, and the vocals are probably one of the more interesting parts. They're not quite gutturals, they're not quite growls. They're just basically really low vocals. Just, I think, maybe inward vocals as opposed to exhaled, but you have to check them out for sure, and let me know what you think, because it's definitely different. They're very heavy. The bass on my system that I have them going through is very low, very like booming, and rattled some of my entertainment units. So they're definitely worth checking out. Very heavy. Fourth on my list is Devour the Fetus. They are a slam and roll band, kind of including slam riffs, like the gutturals and stuff like that. But it also has these really catchy kind of like classic kind of rock and roll kind of light, has like a light mood to it, and very positive sounding. It's hard to describe. It's just very not doomy and gloomy, like the opposite of that. So really cool. Very different band in the slam genre. Definitely should check them out if you haven't yet. Fifth on my honorable mentions is Dragging Entrails. This is a side project of Cranium and some other band that eludes me at the moment, but the sound is just incredible. It's just like this huge bulldozer kind of wall of slam that hits you, and it's just fucking heavy as shit. So definitely check that out. Amazing stuff. I got the Landfill of the Butchered album by them, and I think they're working on a new one, or have it almost fully recorded by now, so that'll be interesting to see in 2016. Next up is Embryectomy. They're another really good slam with a little bit of brutal elements in there, but it's mostly just slam, I believe. The vocals are amazing, just your regular kind of heavy guttural slam type vocals. They got a couple of like really catchy riffs here and there. They have no problem with speed. I got their promo, their first self-titled promo, or no, is it called something else? I don't know. And then I got their split with Trauma Tommy and Cerebral Paralysis, I think is the name of it, which is not too bad band. They're more of the brutal death metal style, but Anyways, moving on. Next on the list, number 7 is Gutfed. They are they're more of a kind of one of those slam bands that have the bass drops and a lot of movie clips in it and samples and whatnot. But they also have like really cool, like groovy type of riffage in there. Um, I don't know. It's definitely one of those ones you have to check out and add to your collection if you're into this kind of stuff. Number 8 on my honorable mentions is Human Rejection. Um, I don't know why this didn't make it into my list of top 20 or even top 10, but they're some of the best brutal death metal with elements of slam that I've heard in the longest time of listening to this type of music. And it's a shame that their first 2 albums aren't more readily available to purchase, because goddamn, I would definitely like to pick one up and have that. Unfortunately, all I was able to do is get like a download of them, and everyone who's watched this channel should know me by now. If it's music worth listening to, it's music worth buying. So if I have the chance to buy it and I like it, I will. But yeah, Human Rejection, just really fast, really technical, really well put together band, and I'm still confused as to why I didn't put this on my top 10 or top 20 list, but we'll get there. Number 9 is Internal Devour, another one that shockingly didn't make it to my top 20, but definitely deserves a mention. They're not your atypical kind of slam. They've got, pardon me, they've got gutturals, they've got high vocals, and some of them are just absolutely like horrifyingly crazy. Their album Slaughtered and Aborted is, I think, the one I have right now, and it's amazing. I definitely played that a lot when I was into brutal death metal and slam kicks and binges, and they definitely deserve the honorable mention spot. And finally, number 10 in my honorable mentions is Malodorous. I don't know if you'd consider them slam or brutal death metal. They've got a little bit of both in there. The vocals are pretty fucking gargly and guttural, and they have that same like really intense low rumbly thing if you have it on a good stereo system. Definitely worth checking out if you can get your hands on it. I was lucky enough to get a copy from Josh Newman, I think is his name. I hope I'm saying it right. Anyways, Josh from Aborning. He has a small distro going on right now while he's touring and stuff, just to keep himself fed and some money going on for that band. So I did a couple of trades and a couple of buys through them, and Malodorous was one of the things that I got to pick up, and that was a very, very lucky score on my end, because I've been wanting to get a copy of that since 60 years ago, I think. So yeah, that's my honorable mentions. This top 20 list, for the most part, isn't like 20 being like the least favorite to 1 being the most favorite. In fact, anything from 20 to number 10 is just pretty much all equal in goodness. And even my top 10 list isn't really from least liked to best liked. It's until maybe the last 5 or 4 bands, and that's kind of when it starts picking up, I think. Anyways, in my top 20 list, this one's number 20, and I'm going to start with Catalepsy. Catalepsy is very, very good. They're very brutal, they eventually became pretty chaotic. Their Autopsychosis album is probably something I'll pick up in the future at some point, depending if CDN Records has it for a good price, or if I can find it on Amazon or eBay or something. Definitely will probably pick it up. I definitely want to get a copy of Music Brings Injury. I think that was their first album, and that was one of the very first slam bands I ever heard, was Catalepsy, and they just do an amazing job. It's kind of one of those mandatory pickups if you're into slam and brutal death metal. Can't really say anything bad about them, and pick them up. Do it now. Next is number 19, which is Bleeded. They're a technical, brutal death metal slam band from Japan, and their bass playing is fucking phenomenal. It's probably the thing that stands out the most in their music. The gutturals and the vocalist is pretty good. The drums and everything. The guitar riffs are like insane and fast, and just it's like they're like quick little songs too. Like the EP or demo or whatever that I have promo is just like 5 songs, and they just go by super quick. So it's one of those things you want to put on repeat so you can get a nice full immersion into what they bring, because they go by so quick and it's so intense that you're just like, holy fuck. Next up is number 18. It's I call them Geomaggot. Some people call it Gomagot. But they're sort of like Internal Devour in the means of having lows and high vocals. Both really good. I like their highs and their lows for different reasons. It's nice to have a variety in the music, I think, just to kind of keep things from being stale. And Gomagot or Geomaggot, however you want to pronounce it, definitely keeps you on your toes, keeps you guessing, and the riffage is good. A lot of groovy hooks in there, a lot of memorable riffs. Keeps your head bobbing for sure. You definitely want to check them out, at least their first album. 17 on my list is Degrade. They remind me of a slammy kind of version of 6 Feet Under. You probably disagree with me with that, but that's okay. I have an odd way of looking at certain music, and I definitely get that. I managed to pick up a copy of Lost Torso Found, and it's really, really good. Kind of the earlier days of slam, and kind of has those old school slam elements to it. Very just kind of bouncy chugs, and not super duper guttural vocals, but it's on the cusp. It's getting there. It's paving the way for what slam eventually became. It's unfortunate they're no longer together anymore, but it is what it is, my friends. And yeah, good band. Check them out. Number 16. I'm surprised these guys aren't a little higher on my list, but it's Gut Wrecked Me from Germany. I have their Slamageddon EP. Definitely cannot wait for their new stuff. They are huge when it comes to my influence when I make slam and write slam riffs and stuff like that. Really groove oriented slams, very humorous kind of clips that they have thrown into their music as well. I just definitely hope they come up with something new soon, like maybe a full length. Definitely cannot wait to see what else they come up with. They're very creative and just awesome, awesome stuff. Gut Wrecked Me. Number 15. I definitely need to pick up a copy of this in the future when I get back into slam, because right now I'm more into black metal. But this one is Big End Bolt. They're just heavy. They've got an interesting kind of guitar tone going on, kind of crushing, yet has a nice like high end to it, mid tones, low end. The guitar is just awesome in their band. The gutturals and vocals are also really well performed. Can't say anything bad about the drums or bass. It just flows really well, and they're just crushingly heavy. Love Big End Bolt. Number 14 on the list is Pathological Sadism with their Human Centipede mini album. I think it's about 7 songs at most, maybe 7 or 6. And they're just kind of like stumbled upon the radar back in the day. I found them while looking for brutal death metal and slam on eBay, and I saw the cover and I'm like, oh shit, that looks kind of cool. So I went to YouTube, checked them out, sampled some of their stuff, and I had to pick up a copy. It was really damn good. Some groovy riffage, and when it comes to slam, the groovier and the catchier the riffs, the better. I'm not really into like the technical or fast stuff for the most part, so that was really, really up my alley. I loved it. Pathological Sadism, fucking awesome. Next is I can't believe I have the 2 albums I have by these guys, but the number 13 is Pighead from Europe. I'm not sure if it's from Germany or not. I'm lacking on where these people come from half the time. But yeah, I got their stuff from their page. I messaged the page. I'm like, hey, do you guys have any material? I checked it out. It's amazing. Can I pick some up? and they said, yeah, I paid a few euros for it. I think about $37 Canadian. It came to for their two albums, um, Re and Reinstating the Dead, Reanimating the Dead, or something, and then the Rotten Body other album. Fuck. I feel like an idiot, but got their two albums. They're amazing. It's really fast, but really, really groovy too. At the same time, it's like just because it's fast doesn't necessarily mean it's not groovy. But it's heavy, really good. Um, the vocals aren't super duper gutturally, but they're not weak either. Definitely suits the music they play. Um, Anyways, check them out. Pighead, great stuff. Number 12 on the list, that probably could have been a little bit higher, just because of how good these guys are. It's Paroxysmal Butchering. I think they might be from the States, but don't quote me. I'm more than likely wrong on that. I only thought they had the Human Smasher album, and then I checked out their discography on spiritofmetal.com, and they actually have an album previous to that, and it's good as well. It's not anywhere near what they did for Human Smasher, but it's pretty good. Like you can't complain. I definitely want to pick up both copies of their releases. You know, the first album and the second album. They got a third one on the works right now. Looking forward to that too. Paroxysmal Butchering, Deliverer, on all fronts in the slam and brutal death metal, front. Just phenomenal stuff. I unfortunately only own some splits that they are on, but eventually I'll pick them up, and it'll be fucking definitely worth it. So check out Paroxysmal Butchering. Number 11. This one, I'm not exactly sure what you'd want to call them. I consider them brutal death metal with the odd slam and odd deathcore element. This is Goddess of Retribution. You want something brutal and heavy and fucking a little different? Check out these guys. I think they only have like a 5 or 6 song EP out right now. I could be wrong. It might be a little more. It's been a while since I've listened to slam and brutal death metal, to be honest. But I'll probably get back into it again once my binge on black metal settles down. But yeah, Goddess of Retribution. Check them out. Not your atypical slam or brutal death metal, and it's definitely heavy. It's gonna crush your sound system if you play it on a decent one. Check them out. Now for the top 10. At number 10 is Maximize Bestiality. These guys are another bass drops type of slam band. Really good. They're not like Gutfed. They're their own entity for sure. They've got more of a sci-fi element going on to them instead of just like gore and kind of like butchery and misogyny and stuff like that. Really cool. I'm glad I got the album of theirs. The front cover's got a bunch of these mechanical space worms and shit on, and lasers coming out of the fucking mouths. Crazy cool artwork. I love their logo as well. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to anything else they put out for sure. They have, once again, groovy riffs, something you can really sink your teeth into. They're very meaty. But yeah, check them out if you haven't already. Maximize Bestiality. Number 9. I had the pleasure of seeing these guys live in concert in Newcastle, Ontario at V-Gates Amigos. An oddly named Mexican sounding bar, but they're not really a Mexican bar at all. It's ran by a bunch of white people. But no, I saw these guys and they're amazing. These guys are Waking the Cadaver. I have all 3 of their albums. Each one is just as good as the last. They all are a little different too. The first one is more indecipherable gurgles than anything, and just what you'd expect from like brutal slam. The second one kind of became more groove orientated, and their vocals became a little bit more audible. and decipherable. You can hear them a little more. It seemed more of like a beatdown type of style vocals. And same as their third album, it was just kind of like an evolution of that. I think they got a little better and a little more aggressive for real life death. So yeah, check out Waking the Cadaver. They're what a lot of people might consider an entry level slam band, but everyone's got to start somewhere, and I like them. So yeah, number 8, and you could probably understand why I'm starting to get into these higher numbers here for these bands. This one is Cranium. A lot of people just absolutely love their first album, 10 Sickening, 10 fucking hell, 10 Ways of Sickening Depravity or something like that. I listened to it again recently, and by recently I mean like a couple months ago, through the whole 10 Sickening Acts of Depravity, that's what it was. But yeah, the mix is a little off. It was mixed a little better, and the vocals were a little bit like down because the vocals were kind of loud in it. It would be a lot better, but all in all, it's still a really good album. They got better with time, I think, for sure. Their The Art of Female Sodomy release was better, and then their next album, Postcoital something something, was just a wee bit better as well. And then their newest one, amazing. I really, really like their newest album, actually. A lot of people were like, about it, because they were expecting Postcoital Part 2, but I don't know why you'd expect that. But yeah, Cranium is really good. They're one of the main slam bands to go to if you're just getting into the genre, for sure. I don't even need to tell you to check them out. If you're watching this, you probably have checked them out a million times. So yeah, Cranium. Next is Begging for Incest at number 7. They could have been higher, but there's a couple other bands that definitely deserve the spot. Begging for Incest. Now, some people that have seen my stuff here may have thought that they're not the greatest, but honestly, Awaiting the Fist is probably one of the best slam releases I've ever heard. I would love to get my hands on a copy of it. It's really fucking rare, and it would probably cost me an arm and a leg. And I don't really have the money for, extraordinarily rare pieces right now. So yeah, paying like $25, sort of $30 plus, another 20 for shipping, would still be too much for me. And I know if I saw this on eBay, it would probably be selling for around 50 or 60 plus shipping. So unfortunately, I'm probably gonna never own a legit copy of it, but whatever. What can you do? I have their second release, and it's damn good, and I'm happy to have that at least. Next on the list is Abominable Putridity at number 6, and you probably don't even need to check them out if you're into slam. You know who these guys are. You probably already know why they're at number 6. They're one of the leading best slam bands out there. Their first album was probably one of the best slam releases ever made, and their second one was good. Not as good as their first one. They went a little like heavier and faster and more brutal and crazy with the second album, which I can respect. You got to evolve and you got to do what you got to do as a band, but there's something really cool and respectable about how primal riffs and how you don't have to beat your head in fast to be heavy. It basically shows how an artist can just really get to the bare bones of composition and still offer something that really sinks in and goes, damn, this is heavy and this is good. Number 5 is Parasitic Ejaculation. I think I only own a split or two by these guys. It's definitely on my list of physicals to pick up, album-wise. But Parasitic Ejaculation know how to do brutal death metal and slam. They combine the two really well. They know their shit, and everything they've released has been fucking top notch. It's been gold slam, and check them out if you haven't already. I don't know why you haven't if you're watching this, but do it. You won't be disappointed. Number 4 is Disfigurement of Flesh. These guys are from the States, I'm pretty sure. And they are amazing as well. They do the slam thing just as well as Parasitic Ejaculation, just as well as quite a number of these other bands on this list, and as well as the honorable mentions list. Disfigurement of Flesh, their first album is absolutely amazing. The Herbarium album after that is also good. Not as good as the first one, as a lot of people might agree with me, but it's still amazing, definitely worth checking out and picking up a copy. And I look forward to any new stuff they come out with in 2016 if they do. My third pick is something that you might not have heard of. You definitely should check them out, and that is Blunt Force Trauma from Japan, and their album is Vengeance for Nothing. It's definitely kind of left field type slam and death metal. They have highs, they've got lows, they've got weird little vocal things that they do that isn't quite lows, isn't quite highs. It's very unique and definitely stands out amongst all the meat and potatoes type brutal death metal and slam bands, and something that you should check out if you're into that type of music. You'll have to skim through like all the Max Cavalera Blunt Force Trauma albums, and you'll have to skim through all of those Blunt Force Trauma hardcore albums to actually get to the Blunt Force Trauma Japan stuff. But definitely check out Vengeance for Nothing, Blackboard, Jungle, and a couple of their other songs from that album, or their demo. They have a demo that's really good too. A lot of people prefer that stuff over the new stuff that they made. But yes, Blunt Force Trauma, definitely check those guys out. And coming at number 2 in my top 20 brutal death and slam bands is Guttural Slug. They have an album before the one that I have. The album I have is Megalodon, and it has some of the grooviest fucking slam riffs that I've ever heard. It's got some neat little sound clips in there. Eye of the Apocalypse has the best song I've ever heard by them. And they even at the end of the Megalodon EP album have a cover of Eyes of Abomination by Melodorus. So that's fucking sick too. Check them out, Guttural Slug. And if you want to go into their Bandcamp and you can find it, they also have their whole first album on there before Megalodon. It's different, it's not quite as catchy and groovy, but it also is very talented and very worth checking out. And my number 1 spot, and you're all going to be like, what the fuck? Because not a lot of people consider these guys straight up slam or brutal death metal. That is Acranius. Acranius was also one of the very first bands. I know they're not quite slam, I know they're not quite brutal death metal, and in fact, I know they're more of what some people consider slam core. And I know as soon as anyone hears the word core, they instantly, flip out, their asshole puckers, and they're like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that. But if you can just step out of your elitist shoes for a moment and just realize how fucking cool Acranius is, because of their riffage, just how incredibly aggressive and crazy the vocalist is in their first album, and the echo of her cracking chest EP. It's brutal as fuck. It's very original. It's very bouncy. Some of the grooviest, most original kind of bouncy, bombastic, riffs that I've heard in slam or slamcore. And the fact that they're different is what makes them top dog, number 1 on my list, because I like things that are different. I don't like hearing the same shit over and over and over again. And I know you probably don't. If you've got, an open mind, you're just like, yeah, variety is definitely the spice of life. And after you've heard all these meat and potatoes slam bands, you want something that sticks out and you can be like, hey, that's that guy's sound, and hey, that's that band's sound. And, something that's memorable, something that just doesn't kind of make you go and just like drool into your Cheerios in the morning listening to slam. something that just wakes you up and be like, wow, yeah, that's catchy. I got that. That wakes me up. I like it. It's very heavy and different and just gets its hooks in and Jesus wept. Amazing shit. So anyways, there you have it. That's my top 20 brutal death and slam bands. Hope you enjoyed the list. And if you haven't heard of some of the bands on here that I've mentioned, fucking check them out. It's definitely worth it. I have a very eccentric taste, and maybe you do too. Thanks for watching. Stay sick. Up next is my top 20 black metal bands.